welcome to the show. We have a little bit of everything to please you, especially with my first guest today. If you've lived in the Quad Cities all your life, as I have, you probably haven't experienced probably even half of what's in this book. 100 Things to Do in the Quad Cities Before You Die. And there's a picture of a bucket right there on your bucket list, compiled and written by journalist Jonathan Turner, who also wrote a history book about downtown Davenport, which I loved.
Thank you.
That was crazy stuff. Several years ago, you wrote that
2016.
book. So now, Jonathan, 100 things to do, not just to do, but to eat and drink and see and experience and visit.
That's true. It's a book, the first travel guide for the Quad Cities, really, and it came about a year or so ago. Visit Quad Cities recommended me to the publisher. It's Reedy Press, based in St. Louis, and they contract with local writers, people who are knowledgeable about their area, and so it started that summer of 2021, and I worked with Visit Quad Cities to come up with this list. It was really challenging to limit it to 100 things.
It is. I love the format of this. So you guys, if you're thinking, oh, another thing to read, it is a guide that is very easy to follow. Like I'm going to open a page here. I'm going to open the page to the pizzas. There's a section about food and drink, right?
There are 5 categories.
5 categories.
Right,
Go ahead
different things. So food and drink, arts and entertainment, culture and history, sports and recreation, and shopping and fashion. So I didn't divide it equally among the 5 categories, but I had to limit those categories to total 100.
Because you could fill the whole thing with food and drink. This
That's
one
for
is about
sure.
savor slices of QC-style pizza. At Frank's and Harris is what you have here, and you write up about Frank's and Harris, and I agree with you about those. And then you have other pizza places on this side. So you're not saying this is the best pizza in the Quad Cities. You're saying...
Right. I wanted to choose things that are really local, specific, and unique for the Quad Cities.
Unique.
So it's not the 100 best things in the Quad Cities. It's what our recommendations are for 100 representative, quality, great things that everybody should experience in the Quad Cities.
And you're not even from here originally.
Right. I didn't grow up here. I'm from Milwaukee. My wife and I moved here in the fall of '95. And we've raised our 2 boys here, and it's just an amazing, beautiful place to live. And we've seen over the past 20, 25 years how much it's improved and grown.
Well, and how it continues to change. Already, Jonathan just came out with this book. Already there's a card of changes. Let's see, River Music Experience is Common Chord, and the Tax Slayer is now Vibrant Arena at the Mark.
Right, things change all the time, and so I wanted to give a little update card for people to let them know. One of my favorite things that's mentioned in the book is the Sunday in the Park sculptures. They used to be at Credit Island.
They all moved.
They're great sculptures that River Action moved to Lindsay Park, and so I mentioned that there.
That's all
You can't miss that.
I wonder if there are any other changes, probably about to happen, that haven't made a card yet, right? So when people see this, I know you just came out with it. Is there a reaction yet? A general reaction people are having to seeing that there's this guide?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really helpful resource. People appreciate having the nuts and bolts of all these places. And in the index at the back of the book, you'll find there's 200 places that are mentioned. So it's not limited to 100, even though I write, specifically about 100 items. But people like having it at the easy to read format, and they, appreciate having this guide that's available. You can take, it's light, easy to travel around with.
It is. Keep it in your car. And it's very easy to find things. I like what you did at the end. I kind of call these the bundles. The activities by season, fall, winter, spring, some things to do seasonally, and then things that are good for going outdoors. In fact, I like your little titles. Did you write those?
They're right.
Exercising
they're
good judgment outdoors,
Exercise good judgment, the music venues, where to find historic places, theaters, and I even have a few, oh say can you see, these great views in the Quad Cities.
Can you see, great views. So far, I mean, are you concerned that someone's going to say, wait a minute, you didn't mention me, or that's not the best place to go?
Right. Well, everybody has their opinion, and of course, I worked with Visit Quad Cities to kind of come up with a list we could agree on. But like I said, it's just 100 things that are representative, and it's impossible to include everything, so you have to make those kind of choices.
I did like the way you threw in some personal opinions about, you mentioned a couple restaurants, what you like to order there. Try this, or I think that puts a personality.
Because they want, the publisher has these guidelines where they want some specific tidbits and recommendations about a lot of the places, and they do have a formula. This is part of a national series where there are 100-some books about all these different cities, and they give you a formula. You can only write so much about each one, so that was kind of a challenge to stick to that.
And you told me even the cover is kind of a format.
Right.
Is the bucket always included?
The bucket's always on the bottom, and
before you kick the bucket, or
your bucket list,
items. And then the pictures of the 100 things. So you're pretty proud of this. This had to be a ton of work. How long did it take?
Well, it wasn't as bad as the Bucktown book, because my downtown Davenport history is a brief history of Bucktown that took 1.5 years, and this one took about 8 or 9 months altogether, from September to last May.
100thingsqc.com. You wanted me to mention that
because
your son put
my
that
younger
website
son,
together.
Josh, just graduated college, and he's a computer expert. So I wanted to have a good kind of introductory guide, you know, have a way for people to purchase it, understand it. 100thingsqc.com.
It's a family affair for the Turners.
Right.
Jonathan, great seeing you
Thank
again.
you for having me. I appreciate
congrats.
it.
This had to have been a lot of work. And,
It was fine.
I'm really enjoying it as a native.
Well, I hope a lot of people can pick it up. I appreciate it, Paula.
Thanks, Jonathan.